Next up, we have the author of I Got Abducted by Aliens, and Now I'm Trapped in a Rom-Com. Kimberly Lemming is a USA Today bestselling author who is on an eternal quest to avoid her calling as a main character. She can be found giving the slip to that new werewolf that just blew into town and refusing to make eye contact with the prince of a far-off land. Dodging aliens looking for Earth booty can really take up a girl's time. But when she's not running from fate, she can be found writing diverse fantasy romance or just shoveling chocolate in her maw until she passes out on the couch. Joining her tonight is her editor, Esi Sogah, who joined Berkeley as an executive editor in 2022, acquiring women's fiction and romance and working with authors such as Elise Bryant, Maya Ariel, Anne Rose, and Kimberly Lemming. Her lifelong love of romance novels led to a career that began at William Morrow and Avon Books before she moved to Kensington Publishing, where she worked on a variety of fiction and nonfiction. Kimberly and Esi, please come on up to stage. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Hello, Kimberly. Hi, how are you?
Hey, doing good. You?
I'm pretty good. This has been very fun. I have a longer TBR now. So first off, one of the things I really love about your books is that your titles are the elevator pitch. And so for this one, I was wondering if you could give, I guess, the slightly longer pitch for what this book is about.
Well, I guess the easiest way to describe it is that I got the idea while watching Meerkat Manor. And the entire time I'm just like, what it must be like to trying to figure out how to get these animals to behave, get all the research done and all that stuff. And then I thought, what if the person behind the camera got abducted and became the meerkat in experiment? So then I thought it'd be a great idea to just have the excuse of, oh yes, of course, an alien species is dying off and they need women. Where are we going to get them? Where else but Earth?
That is fantastic. I have not seen Meerkat Manor. I can't decide after having read your version if it would be terrifying or very fun. I have to ask, why dinosaurs?
Okay, so funny story. One of the things I was thinking about is what if the animal researchers for this alien experiment just did not have the funding to do proper research? And so then I got the idea of what if they only had 2 days on Earth or 2 or 3 days to figure out how humans work, what we're actually into, and try to create a planet that would be able to house us because of that. And what's an easy way to cut corners? Oh, you can just go to a place that has a bunch of Earth DNA. Where are you going to find that? A museum. But of course, because they don't know anything about Earth, they're like, okay, this must be fine. All museums must have regular Earth DNA, but no, it's a dinosaur museum. They got all their shit from a few dinosaur museums they found in New York. So
I love it. I know that the dinosaur who is on our cover is a crowd favorite in The Office. And I'm very excited for people to get to meet everyone else in this book. I would love to know what got you started writing. You have such clever and creative ideas that are not necessarily in the mainstream, but have found such a wide audience. And I would just love to know what got you started.
Well, I always loved to write stories or just tell them, really. I used to write a lot of comic books when I was younger, and I sort of took a break from that when I was an adult. But back in 2021, of course, we were all in lockdown and I was bored and hated my job. And so I decided to just take a layoff, maybe get my head on right, figure out what I wanted to do. And then I was like, what if I was just a romance author? That would be fun. And so I just decided, okay, cool, we're going to try this, and sat down every day for 2 months and wrote a little bit more of That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon. And because I didn't expect it to go anywhere and there was no pressure from anyone, I was just like, we're going to do what we want. And so I made it just the goofiest, silliest thing I could because this is what I want to see in fantasy romance, because I'm kind of bored of all of the rough and tough, dark stuff. I just want to have fun and I want nachos.
That is true. Your book is so fun. I don't know if I told you this, but your book was my comfort work. So when I had to do something really hard at work, I'd be like, well, after this, I can edit Kimberly's book. And that will
That's so sweet.
And the fun you have in writing it comes across so clearly. And with this sort of new resurgence in like fantasy romance, romantasy, monster romance, as you said, there is definitely a dark side to it. Is that something you ever think you would want to explore, or are you going to stay, you know, the what is it, bonkers, we decided? The the more bonkers the better.
Yeah, actually, I've sort of been tossing around this idea I've been calling Heartbeat Harvest, where it is still a romance, but it's with an evil god that needs you to collect 7 hearts to free him from his bondage.
Oh.
And that would be really fun. It's just I have a really hard time staying on track and being serious. So I've sort of just been like putting that off to the wayside. And whenever I'm in like a dark mood, I'll just be like, and what if we added this scene here where this guy was eaten by rabid dogs? So
yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So no dinosaurs.
no dinosaurs in that one. Possibly still more dragons. I haven't decided if it's in the Mead Mishaps world yet.
Let's talk about the Mead Mishaps, because I see the cover art behind you. I would actually love to talk about the cover art. I know that your artist did the I Got Abducted cover as well. And I was just wondering, how you found him and what you wanted to achieve with the artwork on your books.
Yeah. So when my publisher for Mead Mishaps was like, oh, we should do like old style romantasy covers, I was immediately like, yes, absolutely. And then scoured the internet. And because I'm a huge gaming nerd, I immediately went to different gaming artists and see who was open there. And then I saw Mike Pape and scrolled through his portfolio and saw all these different beautiful paintings. And then I saw that he actually had commissions open. So immediately I was like, I want Mike, please, here. And then I come to find out he actually worked on Baldur's Gate 3 as well. And I love that game. I'm obsessed with it. So now I'm just very proud of the fact that the same artist that worked on that game worked on my covers.
That is awesome. And I know that it is important to you to have diversity in like all forms in your books. What do you think about where sort of the fantasy world is going, where it comes to diversity and having diverse characters?
I think there could definitely be more out there. I think one of the biggest things that we can do is just start supporting more authors of color, diversifying our reading portfolios, and just seeing what else is out there. Because unfortunately, you're probably not going to find as many of us in actual bookstores. But one thing I really loved about Book Talk and just online in general is that there's never any reason I can't find exactly what I'm looking for these days. I can literally just go to Twitter and say, hey, I'm looking for a Black fantasy about this, or I want to read something over here. And immediately someone was like, all right, I've got 20 recs, here you go. So it's just always great to me. I love Book Talk and everything. It's really expanded my TBR.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk about spice.
Okay.
Because there is a fair amount of spice in your book. We have a pepper scale at work, which goes up to 5 peppers. And I was like, I don't know if that's enough peppers for this book. When you think about sort of like the sex scenes and how they function in your books, are you thinking about the level of spice, or is it really just sort of like what you're trying to achieve with the characters?
Usually just what I'm trying to achieve with the characters. I don't really put too much thought behind the spice half the time. It's more like, nobody's kissed in a while. We should fix that. And so like, what ridiculous reason could I use to make these people sleep together?
Yeah.
I don't know. They ran out of popcorn. Does there need to be a reason? Everybody's hot.
I know that sort of the conversation around spice and spicy books can get, I don't want to say controversial, but people have really varying opinions on it. And I guess like what role do you think spicy books sort of serve in the romance world?
I just think they're fun. I don't think they really need a reason to exist. You either like them or you don't. And yeah, just read what you want. Don't worry about what everybody else is thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we were talking earlier about sort of the more bonkers, the better. And I was curious, when you were going out with this book, were you at all nervous to be going on submission? I know you wrote those first Mead Mishaps sort of like in your own place for yourself, and this was going out on submission to publishers. Were you like, I don't know how this is going to land, or did you know that like you had a gem on your hands?
So funny story about that. I actually came up with this concept as a joke because One of the things my professor taught me in college is that if you aren't sure if you want to work with someone, you just make a ridiculous offer. And I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do trad or stay indie because I was still doing well indie and still just dipping my toes into trad. So I'm just like, what if I made the most ridiculous book I can think of and just went for it? So I figured, well, if nobody buys it, I'll just indie puppet. It's fine.
Yeah.
So it just gave me the freedom to do anything I wanted. And it was so much fun because I think this book gave me the same wild and free feeling I got when I wrote That Time I Got Drunk and Saved the Demon. And it was just so nice to have no real expectations.
Well, I have to say, I mean, as you know, I fell in love with it right away. And one of the most fun parts of these past several months have been having other people at work start to read it, our sales team and everybody else, and getting their feedback. Toto the Lion is, I mean, there are people on the sales team who would die for Toto. And it's just like, you know, it's really fun on my end of things to know that we're putting a book out there that just makes people so happy. Even people who maybe didn't think they wanted to read an alien romance are like, I have to try this. And it ends up bringing them so much joy, which is the best. And my last question for you is, after everybody goes out and pre-orders I Got Abducted, what books would you recommend for people to read?
Well, my last 5-star is definitely Starter Villain by John Scalzi. It's about this guy who's just down on his luck, but his distant uncle dies and like leaves him everything. And turns out his uncle was in fact one of the biggest supervillains in the world. And his cat may be a secret agent.
Sure.
And so, of course, it's just like this wild and bonkers book, which, surprise, that's what I love. And I ate that book up in the weekend. It was so much fun.
That's fantastic. I love John Scalzi. Thank you so much, Kimberly. I Got Abducted by Aliens and Now I'm Trapped in a Rom-Com comes out in February 2025, and I hope you all love it. Back to you, Beth.
Thank you.
I have to just tell you both before we move forward that my coworkers were very jealous that I got to say hi to both of you. So hi from Milwaukee Public Library and many people who work there. They have been loving your work, Kimberly. So thank you for bringing the joy.
Awesome.
And hi, friends at MPL. This is fun. All right. Thank you so much.